What's going on, Tiger fans? So, this week, you figure after a loss today of the Tigers, let's talk about a great record they set. They have now been shut out for the 20th time this season. Way to go, boys. They set the modern day, actually tied the modern day franchise record for 20 shutouts in a season. What an accomplishment. So, the Tigers set in history today. But you figure with that news going on today that I was going to come on here and be quite pissed about, getting shut out for the 20th time this season. But I've been saying this for a while. Brady Singer is one of the best starters that no one talks about. And the reason why no one talks about him is because he plays in Kansas City. He is one of the best starters that the Royals have produced, honestly, since Yordano Ventura. The Royals have not had many good homegrown starters in a long time. I can remember Luke Hochaver was some guy that they had for a while. He was like a homegrown starter they had for a while. But they really haven't had many great homegrown starters. And Brady Singer has come up through that farm system, and he has done really, really good work. And you've seen today, that sinker he has, that two-seam, go watch some of the strikeouts and some of the pitches he had against Riley Green. Absolutely insane. Great slider, good fastball command. Watch out for him for years to come, man. That kid has really, really good stuff. But that's not what this video is about. There was actually a lot of positives this week. This was one of the most enjoyable four-game stretches of Tiger baseball that I have watched all season. The only thing comparable to this is when Riley Green got called up back in June, and the Tigers averaged 5 runs a game for about 19 games, and they had that stretch against Texas where they blew them out for all three games. They had that stretch where they played Arizona, and Cody Clemens had that one home run off of Joe Mantiply, and Paez hit the grand slam in that series. But even in between there, they had that series with the Red Sox where they got swept. So this was by far, I think, some of the most enjoyable baseball that we have got to see this season. And here's the reasons why. The biggest reason is right now, this team isn't winning that many games. Yeah, they've been kind of on a little bit of a skid. But we're getting a chance to watch these guys that I've been telling you guys about for a while, like the Ryan Kreidlers, and was keeping you guys up to date on Kerry Carpenter. And he's getting a lot of starting time right now. And some of these guys have absolutely went off. This was a week that, you're potentially seeing the 2023 Tigers. And we're going to get into that later on after the season ends, go over all the non-tender candidates and some of the guys that could be roster turnover. And like I had said before when Ryan Kreidler got called up, I think he's a guy that the Tigers might potentially trade. Some of these guys right now that they're playing, we don't know who the GM's going to be and what their focus is going to be going on next year. They have all these guys, these rookies and whatnot, that they might want to trade for some proven bats. So this could be auditions for other teams. We just don't know. But right now, getting a chance to see all these guys get everyday at-bats. We're not seeing Candelario get everyday at-bats. So Candelario can have 3 hits and be garbage afterward. Also, touching on Candelario, guys, if you go on the Reddit Tigers page, the Motor City Kitties, it has got to be some of the dumbest people I have ever met. And I thought Facebook Tiger fans were dumb. These are some of the dumbest people I ever met. You go on there night by night, go on their game threads, and you will see for the longest time, especially over the last 20 days, I can't wait for Jamer to be gone. Can't wait for Jamer to be gone. Jamer gets that 3-hit game in Game 2 of the series where the Tigers scored 8 runs in the rainout game. Or, excuse me, in the first game, and they scored 10 runs. Everyone's like, do we tender Jamer a contract? Is Jamer good? Listen. Just because he gets 3 hits in a singular game doesn't mean he's still not bad. It's like arguing people when Brandon Inge was a Tiger still. Where Brandon Inge would be hitting 175. He would get a home run. And everyone's like, oh my God, Brandon Inge is back. Brandon Inge is back. He's so good. No, he's not. For anyone on you, if you guys go on that Motor City Kitties Reddit forum, absolutely a bunch of morons on there. Everyone's like, you're just hating on Jamer. Listen. All these same people that all of a sudden are coming out just out of the woodwork, they're such reactionary fans, such morons. Jamer Candelario, I had been on here to preach in his praise for a long time. He was by far one of the most consistent Tiger hitters over the last 2 seasons. But he is not good. He has had one of the worst defensive seasons in all of baseball at third. Absolutely horrible. He's like a -7, -8 for defensive runs saved. He has had exactly 1 season with 100 games played. Hell, 2 seasons with 100 games. If you have 90 games played as your minimum standard, 2 seasons. And only one of those seasons he's been a league average player. And that was last year. The only other year was the COVID 2020 shortened season when he had 54 games. He had an absolutely great season, but that was only 54 games. You look at any other season where he's played over 100 games, Jeimer Candelario has had a singular good season, and that was last year. Every other year besides that, he's been at least a 230 hitter. He's been a well below 12 to 15% below league average hitter. So just because he had one good game doesn't mean make up for every single thing that he's done. He had that one good series against Texas. After Texas, he proceeded to hit .091 until that game against Kansas City. So if any of you people in here are part of the Reddit forum, the Motor City Kitties, and you are those fickle-ass fans that go, oh, hey, Jeimer sucks, and then all of a sudden he gets 3 hits, and everyone's talking about how they're going to keep him and Kreidler on the same team because of how Kreidler's playing, get fucked. Seriously, all of you, get fucked. You're a bunch of fickle-ass fans that go day by day on that dumbass game thread, and all these same people saying Jeimer needs to be non-tendered, and then all of a sudden he gets 3 hits and he's fucking God. Get fucked. That's all I gotta say. But anyways, back to the kids. One of the best games of the year, and I'm gonna do a video called the 10 best Tiger games of the year when the season's over. This was by far a candidate of the game. That Angel series, Ohtani and Trout just went off and destroyed the Tigers. But the last game of the series, Kerry Carpenter comes up against one of their best left-handed pitchers out of the bullpen and hits a home run. Lefties were 2 for 37 off of this guy. 2 for 37. And he hits a home run. Absolutely bullet, and somehow keeps it fair, bullet down the left field line, opposite field way into the seats. One of the most impressive things I've ever saw. For him to keep that ball fair like that, couldn't believe it. Just shows you how much strength he's got. What happens? Ryan Kreidler comes up right after him and hits a home run. His first Major League home run, and the Tigers win that game. It was one of the best games of the year. Torkelson had a 438-foot shot in that game. One of the best games of the year, one of the most exciting games of the year. And this is where the kids really started to ball out and the kids started to show what they could do. After that game, Torkelson... Oh, okay, let's touch on the series real quick before I get ahead of myself. Green was hurt in L.A., but Riley Green, he made a diving catch and hurt his wrist. He ended up sitting out the last 2 games of the L.A. series, and then they had the off day before into the KC because he hurt his wrist. I kind of want to touch on Riley Green real fast. He still came back, hit pretty well, drew a couple walks. I love Riley Green, but this guy needs to learn when to dive and not to dive because he's made a lot of good diving catches. But if you guys remember when Bryce Harper was young, Bryce Harper would run into walls and he would dive for a lot of balls and he was constantly getting hurt and constantly getting put on the disabled list. Mike Trout used to hurt his hand stealing and whatnot like that. And he would run into a lot of walls and try to make a lot of diving catches. You notice those guys don't do that as much. Now, I'm not saying Riley Green can't dive and try to make spectacular catches. He's only 21. But for the longevity of this guy's career and the Tigers needing him on the field, this guy needs to pick and choose when he's going to dive and he's going to run and jump into walls and make all-out plays. So, I'm not dogging the kid. You guys know how much I love Riley Green. He's my absolute favorite player on the Tigers. But going forward, this guy needs to pick and choose when he's going to dive for balls and put himself into harm's way because you seen he was missed 2 games and they got that third off and he was wearing that wristband or that bandage on his wrist. I just don't want to see him get hurt. I love the aggressiveness. I love how everyone said he wasn't going to be a good center fielder and a good outfielder in general, and he's proven them all wrong. But I just want to see him kind of pick and choose his spots when he's going to dive and put his body into harm's way because I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him hurt. I don't want to see him missing, 2 months again with a broken wrist like he had with a broken foot. Now the broken foot was just shit happens kind of thing because he hit it off of his ankle in a spring training game. But I don't want to see him break his wrist and be out for 8 weeks. So I just wish he would kind of tone it down some and dive only when he needs to instead of just trying to get everything because of some of the great catches he's made this year. But I'm so impressed with him. I'm so impressed with what kind of a center fielder he's become when a lot of people said he couldn't be a center fielder and couldn't be an outfielder. Scouts said when they were scouting him, he was never going to be nothing but maybe an average outfielder, and you see what he looks like in center. So let's get into this series. Torkelson hit a 438-foot bomb. That was just the start of this. Now, you guys know how I've defended Torkelson this whole time. I had said if he gets sent down the season, it doesn't matter. He's so young. He had barely any time in the minor leagues. There's an adjustment thing. And there's been so many people that have been down on Torkelson. There's been so many people that have said Torkelson is a bust. And I even got in an argument with Cody Stavenhagen because Cody Stavenhagen has done nothing but preach both sides of the aisle, sitting there trying to seem like, push the narrative that he's a bust and then, credit him for changes and whatnot like that. It was a couple weeks ago. They had, and I got into it with him because he had wrote that article. He was like, oh, Torkelson hasn't done that well since going down to spring or down to AAA. And then he talks about a 9-game sample size of him hitting actually well. And then 3 days later, Torkelson gets called up, and all of a sudden there's a brand new article written about the changes that Torkelson had made at Toledo and the successes that he had from them with some of the numbers of August. And then he comes up, and his first couple of games, his first 6 at-bats, he had a strikeout with a couple runners on base, and he showed the pitches that he missed, and 2 of them were down the middle and up. And then Fat Pat Caputo did the same thing, trying to push him, like, oh, this wasn't what we expected when they drafted him in 2020, pick 1. All these people keep trying to push the narrative of Torkelson's a bust and push the narrative that Torkelson can't hit and Torkelson's never going to be able to adjust and Torkelson's never going to be able to show his true power potential and hit. And I got into it with Cody. I was like, listen, dude, you're over here sitting here. The fan base is already down on this kid because he isn't coming up and being, J-Rod right away or what even Michael Harris did with the Braves. Now you're sitting here, you write an article talking about how, and only give him credit for a 9-game span, and this was in the peak of August. It was towards the later end of August because he was getting called up 3 days later. You're over here talking about how he only give him credit for a 9-game span, talking about his struggles overall in Toledo, that he wasn't doing good, even though he hit almost 270 in the month of August down in Toledo and had 5 home runs. Then all of a sudden, 3 days later, you write another article talking about fixing his swing and some of the changes that he had made and some of the stuff he tried and they did with Lloyd McClendon. Pick a side. That bullshit of what the media tries to push, what the media tries to do, what the media tries to portray, they know there's a sensitive topic. They know there's something that people are already mad about. So what do? They poke at it, they poke at it, they poke at it. And they put preconceived notions in people's minds to get people pissed off and get people angry. And no one calls them out on their bullshit. Well, fuck that. You know what I did? I told that guy, pick a fucking side. Is he either a bust or is he good? He's like, you need to read my articles closer. He sends a screenshot of what he gives him credit for a 9-game stretch. I'm like, why didn't you talk about a whole fucking month of August when he was hitting, in the 260s? And then why, if you write an article talking about how bad he's been overall in Toledo and how he's struggling, and how come 3 days later you can write a fucking different article talking about how the changes he made and the benefits from them because he's getting called up? Maybe because it's click generating. Maybe because it was an easy topic. You're kicking a guy while he's down trying to make the whole fan base think that he sucks. And then 3 days later when he gets called up, you're like, oh, let's talk about an article where he's made adjustments and how much better he's been. You're like, get fucked. I hate that kind of shit. But my point being is I've tried to come on here and I've tried to be as honest as possible like I've always been since 2010. And I've tried to be as real as possible with you guys since 2010. And like I've been saying about Torkelson, you got to give this kid a chance. He's so young, and not everyone comes up and hits right away. He hits this 438-foot shot in Anaheim, and I don't even know why Trout even went back for it because it cleared the fence in center field. And since then, the last 10 days, Torkelson has hit 421 with a 476 on base, with a 737 slugging percentage, with a 1.2113 OPS. He should have had 2 home runs, but the one ball in Kaufman hit off the top of the railing, and he ended up getting a triple out of it, and it would have been a home run at all ballparks except one, and the one was Kaufman because of that railing. So he had 1 home run, he had 1 double and 1 triple, and I think he had 10 hits. Absolutely murdering the ball. He had a game where he was 3 for 4. That game where the Tigers scored 4 runs, he was 3 for 4. Carpenter was 3 for 4. Jamer had some hits, but we already touched on him. I'm not talking about that. And then Kerry Carpenter, what does he do this week? He hits 375 with a 375 on base, with an 813 slug, with a 1.188 OPS, with 2 home runs, 1 walk. And he had that home run off that guy in Anaheim to tie the game. One of the most impressive things I have saw out of him this season. Absolutely great about it. And everyone that was sitting there talking about, oh, well, Carpenter's not ready. This is another rush job by the Tigers. He still needs to prove himself more in Toledo. But he had already hit 28 home runs, and he's come up now and already had hit, 4 already. And some of the hits he's had, those home runs like that one, that is clutch. For a kid his age, with the limited amount of MLB at bats he's had, for him to have that kind of a home run, that is insane. That is insane, especially when left-handers were 2 for 37 off him with 2 singles. Not a bit of extra base power. And for him to hit that ball where he hit it, amazingly good at bat. And then we got to talk about the guy that went off the most, Eric Haase. Eric Haase had 7 straight hits. Now, Miggy Cabrera did something like that last year where he had 9 straight hits. I remember, I think his streak ended in Pittsburgh, ended his 9 straight hits. Haase this week, 417, 958, 1.375 OPS with a cool 3 home runs, 4 doubles. In the month of September, he's slashing 322, 369, 610. Like, are you shitting me? This guy, all of a sudden, now that, earlier in the year, when Haase wasn't hitting at all, A.J. Hinch was mainly playing Tucker Barnhart. And a lot of that was because of defense. Everyone talks about how good Tucker Barnhart's defense is, how good he is at a blocker and calling the game, blah, blah, blah. Well, he wasn't hitting at all. And then Hinch started giving Haase more at-bats. And now it's pretty much Haase and Barnhart pretty much swap off daily. Haase catches a game, then Barnhart catches a game. Haase catches a game, then Barnhart catches a game. Lately, Haase has been playing every single day, whether he's been catching and then DHing, and they've been putting Carpenter out in left field more. And really, for all the flack that Carpenter has gotten as a bad defender, he really doesn't have a good arm. I'll give him that. But, he can make the routine plays out there, and that's really all you need when, the Tigers have finally started to show some pop. The Tigers, in the last 10 days, have hit more home runs in the last 10 days, and I'd be willing to bet almost all of August. They had 80 home runs going into the month, and they have absolutely been bombing the ball the last 5 games. And it helps that the rookies have been doing so good, and Haase went off and whatnot like that. And I think even Baez has had a home run in the last 10 days. But Haase, now that he's been getting more playing time, and he's been seeing consistent at-bats, he's been absolutely insane. He went off against L.A., and then he absolutely went off against Kansas City. He had 2 home runs in that first game where the Tigers scored 10 runs in that rout. And he was one of the least productive hitters in the game yesterday when the game got called in the 8th. Everyone else got in it. But, you got 7 straight hits, and you're hitting 417 for the last 10 games with three tanks. Hell, man, I'm okay with that. I'll take that. You can have a game of an over. That's all right, Haase, baby. So the offense absolutely went off, and the kids absolutely balled out. And Ryan Kreidler, he's only hitting 250, but the kid has already racked up 0.6 of a WAR. Guys, he doesn't even have 20 big league games under his belt yet. He's already almost earned a win above replacement. That just goes to show you how good his defensive versatility has been. That goes to show you he's saving runs, and that goes to show you he's doing just enough with the stick. I have had more fun watching these guys play over the last 10 days, where Carpenter's getting more at bats, where Kreidler's getting everyday playing time. It sucks Green hurt his wrist, but Torkelson is finally showing you guys he's a good hitter. He's not sitting there being so passive. He's not sitting there trying to take the ball to right center and let the ball get deep. He's seeing balls. He's attacking them. He's putting great swings on them. He's having good at-bats. He's only struck out 4 times all week to 2 walks, so he's almost at a perfect 1-to-1 ratio. He's out there having good at-bat after good at-bat. Even he had some super loud outs. So to see that on top of Carpenter's great at-bats, on top of Kreidler's consistencies, wherever you put him defensively, and he still gives you a good at-bat, even if his batting average is a little low, but that's okay because he's only played a few games. And then Kerry Carpenter getting an opportunity to play because Carpenter got called up, got a few starts in a row, but he was mainly DHing, and now he's getting a lot of starts out in left field because I think the Tigers are tired of waiting on Akil Baddoo to show anything and that he exists. And I don't know if Cody Clemens exists anymore because he only gets called on out to pitch. He doesn't even get. I can't remember when Cody Clemens got to start. It's got to be at least 2 weeks. But neither here nor there. Getting a chance to see all 5 of these guys play. Before, when we were seeing Scope struggle and seeing Baez struggle and seeing Barnhart struggle, and then seeing Torkelson struggle, and basically the only hitter that was doing anything was Harold Castro. It was so brutal to watch, and just not a fun team to watch whatsoever. Now you got all these guys that are all super young, all came up together, and have all played through the minor leagues, and that chemistry is just instant because of how much they played together between AA and Toledo. It's just a different vibe to the team. It's so fun seeing all these guys in the dugout, interact with one another, and just how hyped they are for one another. They all had success because they're all rookies and they all came up at the same time, and they want all these guys. They're like brothers, they want to succeed. And that's the one cool part about seeing a team that's built from the ground up, that wasn't built through free agency and whatnot like that. Because these guys are all young. These guys have all, been there for each other from Double A, Triple A, and now at the highest level. This is what you dream about when you get drafted, and you get drafted with certain guys. You get to play with guys certain levels, and through all the levels in the minor leagues, you get to come up and you get to see this kind of chemistry, and it's been great to watch. There's just a different vibe to the team, and then when you get to see him succeed, when you're seeing Torkelson hit 438-foot bombs, and seeing Carpenter hit bombs, and seeing guys like Eric Haase, succeed, because you got to remember Haase was a rookie last year. Haas hasn't had that much time in the big leagues. The Indians gave up on him rather quick before the Tigers got him. And now seeing him, succeed for a second straight season, see, he's legit. I love Eric Haas. You guys can go watch my Tigers preview video. I've been on him the whole season. See Haas succeed. And then get to see Riley Green just be the absolute nucleus of this young core. Yeah, something, they're on pace to lose 95, 97 games. But something, if I get to see Torkelson go up there and keep ripping balls out of the ballpark and just having good at-bats, and I get to see Riley Green keep making great catches out in center, and I get to see Kerry Carpenter out there absolutely moonshotting piss missiles, and Eric Haas hitting doubles, and watching Ryan Kreidler make picks at every single position he's put at, I'm okay with this team sucking ass for the rest of the season, and I'm okay watching them, continue to lose a few more games through the last 20-some games of the season. Absolutely okay with it, because it's been fun to see the chemistry, to finally see guys that are putting together at bats. They don't even necessarily need to get hits. But when the lineup was like it was, where they would score one run, and at bat to at bat consistency is so bad, everyone's striking out. They would get a hit and couldn't get the runner to second. And you wouldn't see him get a hit for 5 innings. That is brutally boring to watch. And it was so hard to watch throughout the course of most of the season. So to see now where these young guys are coming up and doing what they're doing, that's a lot more fun to watch. Even if they lose the game. Like even today they get shut out. That's okay. Brady, like I said, tip your cap to Brady Singer. He's a great pitcher. But something? That chemistry and watching that kind of a team play, that kind of a team game, and get to seeing these rookies do what they're doing at the highest level, I'm damn okay with that, and I'm super excited for these guys. So that's what I got for you guys this week. I'll be back maybe Wednesday. We'll do the top 10 Tigers games of the season. I don't know, because I kind of want the season to go through and end, but I don't know. We'll see. Have a good one, guys. I'll be back next week.